Alrighty, we are here with Ted Xenohristos, a name I've been saying since birth. Uh, Co-founder and chief concept officer of CAVA, just one of the most fan favorite brands and delicious food companies out there. Ted, thank you so much for all you do in the culinary space, as well as for making time joining us today. Thanks. How you doing today?
I'm doing great and great pronunciation on the name. I don't think you could say it any better unless you were Greek. So
Thank you. Well,
good, good
I don't think
practice.
I'll ever say it again. I think it was well done. So,
Yeah.
so thanks for that. Big fan of all things Greek, though. But let's just start like early on because
Sure.
I know obviously restaurants, Greek food, Mediterranean food is a big part of your life. Can you take us to what your life was like in the early days, like seemingly the movie esque role of growing up in a restaurant?
Yeah, I mean it's funny because it's so cliche, but it's true. And my aunt and uncle owned a restaurant, and my mom, it was my mom's sister. So when she came to this country, that's the first place she worked, and she worked as a server basically for about, I mean, 30 years, so maybe even longer. And she used to take me to work all the time, and I really would love it. My dad, who also immigrated here from Greece, would take me to work at a construction site, and I was like, oh man, I got to figure out something to do. But when I got to go with my mom, it was such a treat. I loved interacting with the customers. I loved bussing tables. They would leave me nickels and quarters back then when they were worth a lot more than they are today. And I got to wash dishes and run food, and I just enjoyed it so much. I love the hospitality. I love being around the people, the energy, and it was just truly amazing. And I think it just was in my veins and in my blood to always want to be in and part of a restaurant.
What's like the first lesson about restauranthood, whatever you want to call that, that you learned at an early age?
So I actually, when my other uncle, so I got a lot of uncles and a lot of restaurant owners in my family. So he owned a restaurant, and it was my first job, and I was pretty young, and I waited tables for him, and the food was really good, right? And it wasn't like out of this world. It wasn't Michelin star. It didn't have any write-ups or reviews, and I really realized that people enjoyed going there because they enjoyed him. They enjoyed the hospitality. He was such a jovial, he was like a magnet for like happiness, and people just loved being around him. He was rambunctious and loud. People would sit at the table, and he'd be like, oh, he'd remember everybody's name, and he'd be like, oh, you guys didn't get your calamari today. And he'd yell to the kitchen, and be like, bring out a calamari over here. And I realized that they loved, sure, the food was good and the space was nice, but they loved the hospitality part. And there were lines at the door at this restaurant, and they came for him and they came for that experience. And so I realized it was more about treating people well and taking care of people, equal to the food obviously being good, right? People don't want to eat bad food, even if people are super nice. So
So let's get to Kava, which you started at age 7. Uh, you were the youngest restaurant entrepreneur. No, I'm just kidding. Not quite that young, but
I like that. Yeah.
you're pretty young. So I think in doing research, this blew me away. I think most people would be surprised to learn that Kava actually started as like a sit down restaurant at first, like before the whole scaling and chain
Yeah.
thing. What was that like? How did that first restaurant come about for you?
Yeah, so I mean, I grew up, like I said, both my parents were immigrants and from Greece and Cyprus, and so my mom worked all day as a waitress and still found time to come home and make dinner almost every single night. I'm amazed by it. I have 2 kids, and me and my wife try to figure out if we can like squeeze something in the oven and get it done in like a few hours. And my mom somehow found a way to make these huge meals like braised lamb and homemade tzatziki and pita bread, and like, so I grew up eating this food, and I didn't really know it was kind of good for you until later, right? I don't think you really realize it. Your mom's making it, so you think it's just everything's great and good for you. And as Mediterranean started to really grow, and people, it started to have this kind of like health halo around it. It was really cool to see all the stuff I was eating being considered a healthy food, but we really wanted to share what we saw as Greek Mediterranean food, because what people knew it as was gyro, right? Gyro, pasticcio, moussaka, like your typical. And I love that stuff, by the way. My mama makes that stuff still today, but there was so much more to it. And I think when you look at the Mediterranean, you see Italy. they have a technique and they're driven by the way that they make things, right? Like you must make the sauce this way, you must make a bolognese like this. And same for France, right? They're very strict in their technique driven culinary. Whereas Greece was all about freshness and all of the Mediterranean. When we say the Mediterranean, we say like Greece, Turkey, the Levant, Lebanon, Syria, Israel, like all the countries there in the northern African coast, they all share this common, their food is similar but different, but they share this common kind of like this happiness and jovialness around food. And it's all about the freshness of it. It wasn't about, oh, I gotta do these tomatoes this way. No, I gotta find the freshest tomatoes. When we were creating our crazy feta, we couldn't get the same fresh red peppers that grow in northern Greece, right? And so we used jalapenos because they were close by and they were the freshest pepper we could use. And normally that dip is called tirokafteri and it's more mild. And this was like the spicy, and so we're like, oh, that's crazy. And it literally got the name crazy feta. So it was really just the visits to Greece, growing up eating this food the way my mom cooked, and saying like, how do we share this with people and really show them what Mediterranean food is? Because it's not just a gyro, right?
Well, I have to stop you right there because my wife Dana, one of her all-time favorite movie scenes is in My Big Fat Greek Wedding when the girl's like "Muskaka."
Yeah.
But
There's
all
a
that
lot of
stuff,
great lines in that. Yeah.
all that stuff is so good, and we we were fortunate to do a trip to Athens and then the Greek islands pretty
Awesome.
early on in our relationship, and we did a cooking class and they taught us how to make tzatziki, and like we make it. It's like every other week. It feels like now.
Yeah.
It's so good. So I would say I would go out on a limb and say you guys have a good taste in food, but
We call it the ketchup of Greece. So it's
the ketchup.
so easy to make, right? It's so
Yeah,
easy. It's about fresh garlic
it's
and
the ultimate refreshing thing.
yeah, so it's cool.
So, but if you think of that first, like more of a sit down restaurant,
Yeah.
what's the, besides just the nature of being like a sit down dining restaurant, what else would you say was like really different about that first location versus like what somebody thinks about today when they think of a Cava location?
So our first restaurant, we called it CAVA Meze. So the name Meze means small plates, meant to be shared, right? So we wanted to take what we were experiencing in Greece on those visits with our families. I would go back to my dad's village, and it was a very poor village, and but whenever we visited, they always found a way, no matter who I brought, if I brought friends, I brought family. And it was always about like, oh, we have to eat, right? And it was a big table, it was a huge spread, and it was whether the food was always great, right? But it wasn't about just the food, it was about being together. So we wanted to kind of create that atmosphere and that vibe along with showcasing what the food was. So we started this full service restaurant and it had, 20, 25 small plates on it. We did, of course, our tzatziki and hummus, all the stuff that you see in our kavas today all came from that full service kind of Chef D was my partner and chef and created all those recipes and a lot he took from his mom. So great recipes. I'm not sure he's giving her all the credit she deserves today, but and we were waiters. We built the place by hand. We built this restaurant for less than 10 grand. Everything was from like Target and Marshalls and the dollar store. And we somehow got it open and we didn't have a sign. We didn't have a register. And we really, our marketing plan was to just take care of people and just treat them like we would treat any family member or friend. And so people would come in, we'd send them appetizers, we'd buy them drinks, we'd buy them dessert, we'd keep the bar open late night, we'd let people step behind the bar and make their own drinks. Yeah, it was such a fun, jovial place. Like people would then come and all of a sudden we were like 45 minutes, hour outside DC, and this place had a line out the door and it was like an hour wait just to get in before we even opened. We were written up in Washingtonian Magazine as restaurateurs of the year. I mean, it was crazy. It was wild what was going on. We were 26, 27 years old. And all the time, meanwhile, we were living with our parents because we were making no money while it was all going on. So sometimes we'd even sleep in the restaurant. But it was really about, I wanted to change the culture of restaurants. My mom worked in it for so long and it's a grind. It's brutal work, and at the end, she had nothing to show for it. So we wanted to take care of people. We gave people percentage of ownership, profit sharing. We limited the number of hours you worked and paid the same amount that you paid that other restaurant managers would get. And then we wanted to share the quality of the food of the Mediterranean, which we did through the menu. And then we really wanted to share that hospitality and the generosity, and we talk about generosity at CAVA all the time. We have this love button today our team members can use. Someone comes through the line if they're having a bad day, or you've seen this customer 3 times this week, they can hit that love button and buy the meal for them. And that all stemmed from that first restaurant, like just taking care of people. So the recipes were chef driven. They transferred over to our fast casual format. The generosity transferred over, and taking care of our team members is probably one of our top, if not one of our top priorities, the top priority. So taking care of our team members who take care of our guests, and sharing that hospitality and Mediterranean food with them.
Well, you guys are on a roll. You don't need any advice from me, but I think you missed a huge opportunity to have Cava branded sleeping bags that promote people sleeping in the restaurant. I think that's like the next huge product extension for you.
That's literally the number one request I get. Not just sleeping bags, but anything with Cava on it. We're like, where's your merch store? Where's your merch store? I was like, well, we're trying to open up 1,000 restaurants by 2032, and we're trying to focus on that.
Which, by the way, like hot off the press, I know with the hot harissa meal you got, you guys now have like the little plushy pita chip toy, which are like the cutest little thing ever. Who doesn't want a little like pita, a stuffed pita, literally plush pita thingy?
Yeah, our marketing team did a great job, and Peter Chip is who we call him, and then there's Garlic Gus, and there's a few characters there. And I honestly think, we open up restaurants all over the country now, and I get messages, oh, thank you for opening, like, or when are you opening here? And the biggest response I got was, can you get me, I'm missing this one plushie. I'm missing Garlic Gus. I'm missing, Peter Chip. And from family members to people I haven't heard from in years to like investors of ours. And they were like, I'm out of the country. Can you get all 4 of them for me? I was like, I don't even have all 4.
As a sucker for puns, Peter Chip is just too perfect. It's right on the money. Delicious.
Big as it gets, yeah.
So how did you guys first like realize that this is something that could actually be scalable in like a slightly different format?
We had that first restaurant and we were running it ourselves. Like I said, I was living with my parents. My other 2 partners were doing the same. We weren't really making any money, but the restaurant was busy. It was packed. The lines were out the door. That's when, one of my partners stepped out of being in the restaurant. I started focusing on what I do best, and what, my role today as Chief Concept Officer, design, menu, working with the chefs. My chef partner, Dimitri, stayed in, and then Ike, who's the third founder, literally started working on the business and understanding how to make money now, right? We created this awesome, cool one restaurant. So once we kind of figured that out, we opened a second restaurant. And then we started selling our dips and spreads. As soon as we figured it out, we dove into something we didn't understand again. People kept buying our hummus and our tzatziki, and we just kept selling it in these tubs. So we decided to start selling it in grocery stores. So we would operate the restaurants all day. At like midnight, we would start making these dips by hand. We would package them. We would use blow dryers to melt the plastic. We would deliver them to the grocery store. So we had this like, we and eventually did a third restaurant, and I'm fast forwarding here and covering a lot of ground, but it went from 2006, the first restaurant, 2008, the second one, and around 2000, by the end of 2010, we had 3 of those full service restaurants, and we were selling to about 10, 15 Whole Foods and other grocery stores within the DC region. So it was all organic. We didn't really have a full grasp on it. And we kind of decided at that point we need a little help. And that's where I met Brett Schulman. He's currently the CEO. And I always like to say I hired my own boss. I worked with him. I brought him on as a consultant. He really helped us fix that, the grocery side of the business. And he had this, pitch to us, like, why don't you guys turn this into this kind of like fast casual format of CAVA that today? Because in the full service, you can only serve a certain number of people, right? It's more expensive. And in this fast casual format, you could get everyone in for, at that time, it was less than $10 for a meal and a drink. And, he's like, oh, we can make it's super healthy. And we were like, hey, hold on. Like, I'm not a salad eater here, right? I love eating food. My mom makes lamb every night and grilled meatballs. And, but he's like, he pointed out, he's like, guys, the food you're making is healthy, the food you're eating. And we didn't really kind of realized that it was like light bulbs and hummus with chickpeas and lentils and all the things that we had in our restaurants, we started to transfer to that line as we started to build that brand out. So it was really cool. It was this transition period of, okay, we're full service and we started running this kind of fast casual and trying to figure out how we're going to still make things we made the way we made them in a full service with chefs in a fast casual format. So that was a really fun period.
Yeah, that sounds fun and also probably agonizing at the same time.
I get very agonizing. I'm leaving out all the hard parts. So
No, but well, I want to dig into that hard part. So like that shift from I don't know, I guess you call it casual dining to fast casual
yeah.
is fascinating, and I think there's so much that you have to think about there. What are some things that you learned early on about like, okay, this will or not work, and like this won't work in this format. We need to change it up.
Yeah, look, so I mean, the line has changed dramatically over the years, right? Our first ever line that you went down, at the end of it had like yogurt and you could choose your toppings. It was kind of wild what we had. We ended up realizing that the more things you had, the more chance of kind of it going bad, right? And so we started to really hone in on what the menu was, and what we call it is menu creep. And we started to say, okay, here's our menu. If we add something, we have to take something off. We can't have 50 items and then go to 80 items because we learned very early on that that just makes it more difficult. Once we figured that out, it was, hey, we were braising lamb in this pot at our restaurants, right? We take a whole leg of lamb, we braise it, we pull it off, and we turn that into our braised lamb. And we were doing that in our fast casual. And then we would put it in this pans and it would sit on the line. And same with chicken, do it on the grill, put it in these pans. And these pans were like this deep. And we weren't that busy because people didn't really know what it was. And so that food was sitting there. It wasn't crossing like a threshold of getting people sick, but it was getting kind of mushy. It was getting like stale. And, after 30 minutes, 45 minutes, so we started getting shorter pans. We started creating standards, cook times, how long things could sit on the line. And so it's just a different business altogether, right? In the full service, you have chefs and you're making stuff and you're prepping to get ready for dinner service. In fast casual, you're cooking to serve from literally kitchen grill to consumer right away. So figuring that out, that dynamic, it was lots of practice, lots of learning experiences, and little stories like that where we had to kind of tweak those things. So it was really fun. It was interesting. It was fun. It was a lot of work, but it was really cool starting to learn an all new facet of this restaurant business that we had been in for such a long time.
It's really fun to hear about like the early days and the experimenting like that, and like contrast that now with like at the time of this recording, like you guys have opened your 400th location. You're a public company. You're in so many different cities and states across the U.S. I always think back to like when I was living in the city, and for those not New York area, everybody calls New York City the city. When I was living in Murray Hill area, my friend Alex like walked me like halfway down Park Avenue. It was like, dude, you got to try this place. And like we walked all the way down to that Park Avenue CAVA location, and we're like, wow, this is amazing. And we went many times. And then our good friend Spence was working in Soho at the time. And when that Soho location opened, like right across from his office, the line was like all the way down the block. And so like it's clearly you guys did something right from the buzz standpoint, and I'm sure there's still a lot of buzz with new locations like that. What do you think is kind of like the secret sauce, if you will, of how you've created like such a buzzworthy and brand that people have such an appetite for?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it starts with people, right? And we want to start, we start by taking care of our people. I remember back in like 2013, we went to like $13 an hour minimum wage, which, in most jurisdictions we were in at the time, it was like $7 minimum wage. So we're almost double in most places. And that 13 was the minimum. In some places it was higher, right? Obviously, New York was higher, Los Angeles, urban areas. And we've continued investing in our team members. And are we perfect? Are we exactly where we want to be? Of course not. But as we grow, we're able to do more and more, right? We're able to increase pay, salary, opportunity as we grow. And so I think it starts with that. I think that team members really enjoy working at a place knowing they have an opportunity to grow a career, right? I think I started this by saying, the restaurant business was super hard. My mom worked in it for a long time. She got beat up. And people, when I worked in the restaurant industry, they always looked at it and said, "Oh, I'm just working here until I get a real job." And I was like, "Well, this is a real job for me, like I don't know what it is for you." But and so like I know for so many people, for my mom, for me, I didn't finish university. I wasn't able to finish. And so this was my real job. And I want people to have opportunity to grow and create careers at CAVA. So I think it starts with that. The second part is what I still do today, right? It's the food. I think that my job here, the way I look at it, I have a fancy title of Chief Concept Officer, but I really look at it as defending our food, right? And saying, like, as we grow, and I see comments all the time, oh, Kava's corporate now. Oh, their food is this, that. No, the food is exactly the same. We get our lentils from Montana. We get our olive oil from Greece. We get our olives from Greece. My good friend Stavros, people probably read about it. He grows these with his family. It's a huge co-op. I get to visit there every year. And so knowing where our food comes from is super important to me. We have no freezers. We have no microwaves. We don't use butter. Like we focus on the quality of the food which is what we started with, right? It's all fresh. It's made by hand. Falafel's made by hand. Lamb meatballs are literally made by hand. I would challenge anyone to come in the back of our kitchens and sit there and scoop lamb meatballs all day, marinating chicken, throwing it on the grill. We cook with fire and like we work so hard and we have an amazing team of supply chain and culinary and chefs that work so hard to continue making it easier on our team members. Those little cucumbers that you get in the restaurants, you're walking through the line, the Persian cucumbers, someone's sitting there hand cutting those every single day. So I want people to know that the freshness and the quality are something that we believe in. It's my job to defend as a founder as we grow. Of course, we have to have more supply and we have to find it because you actually run out of stuff. We're running out of fresh dill for tzatziki. We got to figure out where it's going to come from. And so we're investing in finding ways to grow it in greenhouses so we could still use fresh dill versus if you go into grocery stores today and you're buying tzatziki off the grocery shelf, a lot of time it's powdered garlic and powdered dill and powdered, spices. So I think the food and the people are really what's bringing people in. And now we're investing in what our spaces look and feel like. We're really trying to bring that Mediterranean kind of feeling into it. A lot of greenery, bringing in some olive trees and soft seating. So I think the combination of all those keeps people coming back.
Well, if you need anybody to like fly to Greece and just kind of like taste test the olives, like I'll throw my
Yeah,
my hat
it's
in the
funny.
ring if just you need help.
It's funny. We have a lot of people clamoring to sign up for that one. Yeah, we get to take the chefs out there every once in a while and kind of experience the Mediterranean region as a whole and eat at different restaurants, eat at little tavernas, eat on the side of the street, and being able to like actually watch a harvest happen with olives is one of the coolest things. Believe it or not, it's just like wine. You can have olive oil tastings and sippings, and so it's really cool to do and experience.
So you mentioned that you're the fancy chief concept officer, and one of those responsibilities is culinary innovation or defender of the food. I like that you need like a full like catcher's mitt,
Yeah.
catcher's equipment there, attire. But if you had to look back and think of like one offering or dish or like I guess food that Kava has introduced in recent years that has been like a game changer, like oh like we're onto something. There's a good spike in sales here. What's one that sticks out to you?
I mean, I think for me, I'm gonna cheat and answer that in two ways. Like our pita chip has been like something that's been like, as you mentioned the plushies earlier, it's completely taken off. Like,
Peter.
yeah, pita chip is doing a great job of marketing, and now we've introduced a second chip flavors. We did our garlic ranch. We have our hot harissa. We have a bunch of new fun flavors coming. And so having that two chip option has been really great. And recently we just did sauces for them. So we're working on thinking about like pairing sauces with our chips. So it's been interesting to watch it. On the other hand, something maybe that's hasn't gained as much traction, is not as exciting, but has a big following is lamb. I think that when you go look for lamb in fast casuals or fast food or wherever you're looking for it, it's really hard to find. I don't think many people are doing it, and we're doing it two different ways. And for me, the grilled lamb meatballs, they came from the original restaurant. It's the same recipe. They have our harissa in them to spike them, to give them a little heat. We make them fresh every day. We work with amazing lamb farmers to get some of the best lamb. We dial in the spec, and we hit them on the grill every single day. And it's really an amazing product, and people love it. And it's amazing to see that there's a big contingent of people that really love lamb, and so it's really cool and something we're really proud of.
I don't know what you're proud of. I mean, it's really nothing to. No, I'm just kidding. No, Ted, you've been a fantastic sport. Let's wrap up with an all Greek edition of rapid fire Q&A. You ready for it?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's get wild and let's get Greek. What is the most beautiful Greek island?
Woo, Paros for me. I'm one of my favorite islands. I know it's gotten a lot of popularity recently. I'm going to give a sneak tip for anyone listening. It's Folegandros is another one that's hidden, hard to find, but worth it, and almost a better version of Santorini. So,
and we'll have to look up the spelling of that and put that
yeah.
in the show notes. All right, what's the most underrated destination in mainland Greece?
I would say the Peloponnese region, Peloponneso. I mean, it's gorgeous. My father's from there. It's where our olives come from, and there's lots of it that was historically Venetian, and so it looks very much like Venice. You got a lot of historical Venetian towns. Very cool. Beaches are gorgeous. Still very affordable, not as expensive as those other Greek islands. So definitely a hidden spot.
All right, best. Well, I won't go past. I'll say favorite Greek basketball player of all time.
It's definitely Giannis. I mean, he's the best.
Who's that? No, I'm just
The
kidding.
Giannis, yeah. And my dad's Giannis. My son is Giannis. Not because of the basketball player, but because we all name each other after our father. So we name our kids after our fathers. So there's like 20 Giannis in my family, and he's amazing. He grew up very Greek. He grew up in Athens, and watching him represent Greece is really cool to watch. So, and he's amazing. So I don't think there's anybody been better wearing the Greek uniform.
Yeah, a decent player. All right. If you had to pick one, if you had to have one bite of anything Greek that you could have once a day for the rest of your life, what would that be?
Souvlaki. I think souvlaki for me is, especially in Greece, it's marinated pork, grilled over fire, salt, pepper. So simple. A little bit of olive oil. You can put it in a pita sandwich. You can eat it off the skewer. We were there this summer and even in winter with the chefs, and we stopped at this one kind of road stop on the way down to the Peloponneso, and I think I eat about 20 skewers in one sitting. So,
Wow, that's a lot of skewers. All right, and then other than your last name, what's the longest Greek word that you could think of?
probably galactoburiko. So,
What's that mean?
yeah, it's a dessert, and so like it's an amazing dessert. It's my favorite dessert. It's like a custard with phyllo dough, and they serve it warm with cinnamon. And people always say like, "What's your favorite dessert?" And like, I want to tell them that, but then it becomes like, "How do you spell that? How do you pronounce that?" And so I usually just say baklava just to make it easier. But galaktoburiko is the best Greek dessert.
Awesome. Rolls off the tongue. TEDx, Ted Kai, whatever you want to go by. Thank you so much. Just absolutely love everything you're doing at CAVA. I know if you want to learn more, try out CAVA. You can do so at CAVA.com. Ted, I know you're on LinkedIn, you're on Instagram, so they can connect with you there. Thanks again for joining. Last thing, final thoughts. It could be just like one line, just kind of words of wisdom to leave us with. Take us home here.
Yeah, I mean, I think for anyone in the restaurant business, it's a lot of work. It's grueling. It's a tough business, and I think if you love it and you love the hospitality like I do, and you want to open up your own restaurant or you want to grow in a company, I think you have to love it. You have to love people, and you have to just keep working. It never ends with restaurants, right? People always say, "Oh, I wish I could have my own restaurant." Like, it's a lot of work, but if you love people and you love taking care of people, and I think it's a fabulous business. It's an amazing business. And I really want to give a shout out to all our teams in the field because they do all the things that I did in that one restaurant. They do that for us today and help us expand. So thank you to all of them. And it's a wild and crazy ride, but it's fun while we're doing it.
Bring on the bongos.